Hello and welcome. My name is Mónica Valenzuela. I am the Director of Programs at Digital Undivided. And I would like to give a brief introduction about our organization for all of you who don't know about Digital Undivided. We are a non-for-profit organization. Our mission is to disrupt structural inequity in the entrepreneurial ecosystem and investment landscape through data and research-informed programming. We provide various programs, resources, events, and initiatives to help women of color founders gain access to opportunities like business training, mentorship, and funding to accelerate the growth of their companies. So our ongoing commitment involves fostering a strong sense of community and sharing relevant resources for continued education and business development. And as part of this effort, we regularly host community sessions like today's workshop. And we are very excited to have with us Nelly Yusupova to lead today's workshop on how to reach product market fit quickly. So a little bit about Nelly. I like to introduce Nelly to all of you. Nelly Yusupova is an experienced CTO with over 18 years of expertise in leading companies to technical excellence. She's a startup tech advisor, outsourced CTO, and the creator of TechSpeak for entrepreneurs, an online masterclass providing a roadmap for successfully managing technology teams and projects. She's recognized for her contributions and was included in Fast Company's League of Extraordinary Women and named Wall Street Journal's Woman on the IT Fast Track. She's a speaker and a presenter at numerous organizations and major industry events, including Women's Enterprise Center, Founder Institute, Black is Tech, Women's Venture Summit, and has been featured in INC Magazine, NBC Today Show, Fast Company Magazine, and other prominent publications. So we hope you enjoyed today's workshop about how to reach product market fit quickly. And the idea is that you will walk away with a simple breakdown of what product market fit really means and why it's so important to get there quickly. The key metrics you should be tracking to know you are on your way to product market fit, and the exact process that you can use to get to product market fit quickly without wasting a lot of time and money. But I leave it up to you, Nelly. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Monica, for such a wonderful introduction. Can you guys hear me? Everything's okay?
Yes, everything is okay.
Great. I'm going to share my screen.
Also, please feel free during the workshop if you have any questions to write them in the chat. And at the end, Nelly, you'll be sure to answer some of the questions, right?
Absolutely. This is going to be very interactive. I want you guys to participate in the chat. I'm going to be asking you questions and testing you. So get ready. Drop an emoji in the chat if you're ready to get going. And I will wait. Monica, yay! The first participant.
Yes.
Okay, so if you're here, yes, Quincy, hi, nice to meet you. Excellent, let's get going. All right, so my goal today is to show you the importance of reaching product market fit quickly and a path to successfully getting there. Sorry, my mouse is not cooperating. 1 second, give me a second. There we go. Okay. I am ready to go. If Monica and Anna, if you could drop the link into the chat, there's a workbook that comes along with this. And I did that so that you guys are not feverishly taking notes. I want you to participate and be present with me here for the next 45 minutes. And then we'll have about 15 minutes left for Q&A. If you want to dive deeper into some of the topics that we have started to talk about. Okay. Monica already did the introduction, so I'm going to tell you where we're going today. So first, we're going to define what is product market fit and why it is such an important milestone for any company to reach. And then I'll talk about the two pillars that are absolutely necessary for reaching product market fit quickly. And then I will share my exact framework that I use and teach entrepreneurs for reaching product market fit. And finally, we'll wrap up with metrics and why metrics are such an important thing for us to prevent us from going in the wrong direction for too long. And then, of course, I'll share some additional resources and we'll leave some time for Q&A. Great. So what is product market fit? Obviously, we have the product side and the market side. And on the market side, we will need to do three things. The first thing is to identify a target early adopter who has the biggest pain point for the problem that you want to solve. And then you also need to validate that the customer problem is not just valid, but also high enough that the customers are going to be willing to pay you with time or money, and ideally both, to solve those problems. So somebody's microphone is hot. If you can mute it, great, excellent, thank you. So the key here in step number 2 is to find out that people are going to be willing to pay you with either time or money, and ideally both, to actually use your product or service. And when I work with entrepreneurs as a consultant or advisor, what I see a lot of entrepreneurs do is solve level 5 or 6 problems. And when you do the market side well, what I'm suggesting that you do is find level 12 out of 10 problems. These are painkiller problems and not vitamins that people actually need solved. Because the higher the pain point, the more likely customers will be willing to pay you with time or money, and ideally both. Let me ask you a question. This is your first question, you guys, in the chat. Let's say you found a painkiller problem that people actually need solved. So you were lucky enough to find one of those problems, but you don't actually have customers that are willing to pay you to solve that problem. Do you guys have a business? Yes or no? Type your answer in the chat. So you have found a painkiller problem that people actually need solved, but you don't have a customer. Not yet. Great. So you guys are there paying attention. Awesome. So what do you have? What do you have when you have a really great problem and no paying customers? Maybe a nonprofit, maybe a hobby, just an idea, right? You don't have a business until you find someone, anyone, even if it's directly not your users who are using your application or your product or service, but somebody needs to be able to pay you to be able to do that for it to be considered a business, which is why it's so important right off the bat to focus and understand for the customers that you're targeting, do they have enough money? And if they don't, who else can you get to pay for that product, right? That's why this is such an important part on the market side, to be able to find customers, not just that have the problem that you're trying to have to solve, but also the customers that have the money to be able to solve, to pay you. And lastly, you also need to define and refine your value proposition. So what does this mean? These, you need to be able to answer questions like, what makes you unique? Why should people pick you over the competition? And are you clearly communicating the value to your potential customers in a way that they resonate with? I'm going to repeat that. You need to be able to communicate the value to your potential customers in a way that they resonate with. Very, very important to get this right. Again, if you're able to create a product that solves a painkiller problem, but you're not able to communicate the value effectively in a way that your customers understand, then they simply won't buy. There's a lot of entrepreneurs who struggle with this, right? They really have an amazing solution, but they can't figure out how to communicate that value to the customers. So this is what you're trying to achieve on the market side. On the product side, you also have 3 things that you need to focus on. The first thing is to build the exact combinations of features and services and functionalities that will solve your customer needs that you've identified in the market, and keeping them coming back to using your product over and over and over again. From my experience, a lot of people get stuck in their MVP, minimal viable product. They say, they launch it, they say, yay, we did it, they start celebrating. But the key here is to continue to refine your product until you have the exact combination of features and functionalities that make your product delightful, right? This is something that your customers love coming back to and using it over and over and over again. So launching the MVP is always just the first step. You need to continue to learn, refine, and iterate on the product over and over and over again until you find the exact features and functionalities that will provide value for your customers, so they continue to be a customer and are actually happy to pay you. Yes, I said happy. They will be happy to pay you with time or money to actually use your product because you're actually solving their problems for them, right? And think about yourself. If you have a really tricky problem that you want solved, there is no amount of money that you won't pay to be able to solve that. So that's where you want to be when it comes to your product. You also need to refine your product's user experience to make sure that your product is not only intuitive, but is also easy to use. And of course, you need to work with the right team and optimize team execution. We'll talk and dive into each one of these things as we go through the presentation. But this is really important because I find that if you often either hire the wrong people, if you're outsourcing, or you're working with the wrong team, your company can't be successful because you can't satisfy your customers' needs fast enough. And even if you find a really important problem to solve, high pain point, great value proposition, but you can't deliver on the product, on the solution, you at the end of the day can't be successful. So what is product market fit? Product market fit is when you found the exact target market that is willing to use your product on a regular basis and is also willing to pay you for using it, right? So when you are able to do that, you have found product market fit. You have found the formula for acquiring customers in a cost-effective way and are willing to pay you for that product or service. And the funny part is, and raise your hand if this has ever been you, because I've done this plenty of time, most entrepreneurs think and hope that their product market fit journey is going to look like this: a straight line to success, and it's only going to take 1 to 6 months to get there. Raise your hand if this was you at some point in any of your ventures, right? We are very optimistic when we start working on our ideas that, hey, people are just going to love this thing, right? It's going to take us a few months to get there to reach product market fit. But the reality is this. You see here a path to getting to product market fit that is definitely not a straight line, right? These are the frequent pivots that you might have to do. Some would be small, some would be large. Most of your pivots, hopefully, will be small. And with small pivots, you will be focused on optimizing your product for retention, means getting customers to stick around and using your product on some regular basis. It's all about understanding what new features and improvements to your product experience and functionality would make your product stickier, so more and more of your existing customers use your product on a regular basis and also recommend and refer new users to you. The big pivots are the most painful, the most time-consuming, and the most expensive. This is where you might realize that you need to target a different customer segment or a different industry, or you might realize that you need to solve a totally different problem altogether. Hopefully, you won't have to do more than a few big pivots, but it's totally normal and expected for every single startup to, at some point, be able to do a big pivot. The key is to learn quickly and pivot before you go in the wrong direction for too long, which is very expensive, right? So it's okay to make mistakes. That's why I call them learning opportunities. But the longer or the faster you're able to realize the lesson, the faster you can pivot. And that's why this path of getting to product market fit is not a straight path to success. So the question is, why is it important to getting to product market fit quickly? Who can tell me? Can you guys take a guess? Why is it such an important milestone? Who can tell me, why is reaching product market fit quickly such an important milestone? Anyone? Before I tell you? Well, product market fit means that you have a repeatable way of acquiring customers in a cost-effective way, and that you are now ready to scale your business. Okay, you're now ready to scale your business, which means you make more money. You're able to attract more investors, right? You can expand, you can do all kinds of things. Elisa, thank you. Exactly. Proves your business is sustainable. Absolutely. Thank you for participating, Elisa. So does that make sense? You want to be able to reach product market fit quickly because you now have a sustainable business. You're ready to scale it and make more money. Now, this is also, for those of you who want to raise money, I believe is an optimal time to raise venture capital so that you can figure out how you can actually pour gasoline on the fire that you already know is burning, right? And if you can put gasoline on the fire that's burning, it can blow up, okay? So now to get to product market fit faster, you need something that I call product velocity. You need to increase the product velocity in your startup. And contrary to its name, product velocity is not just about building a product quickly. Product velocity is the CEO's ability to align the entire startup team to focus on the right goal at the right time so you can quickly and efficiently learn who is the exact target market that's willing to use your product on a regular basis and is also willing to pay you for it. It's about your entire team, your tech, your marketing, your sales, your business development, and so on, being able to work together and execute quickly in an iterative way to build a business around the product idea. Not just about building a great product, but to build a business around the product. And that, of course, involves your company being able to iterate both on the product side and the market side at exactly the same time. I will repeat this because there was a hot mic there for a second. Maybe some of you got distracted. This is really important. So you want to be able to be focused on the right team at the right time. And as a team, you're now iterating really quickly to be able to reach product market fit. And in order for you to reach product market fit quickly, you need to be able to iterate both on the product side and the market side at exactly the same time. What most people do is focus so much of their time on the product. They perfect their product and completely ignore the market side. Some people actually build the product first, and then they go searching for a market, right? Who wants it?
Or you wanted to redesign your website,
exactly
right?
What was that? Okay. Sorry, there's people unmuting. So you want to be able to, lost my track of thought, to be able to iterate both on the product side and the market side so that you can understand who you're selling to, who needs your product. And I, in my workshops, actually teach for you to start with market first, find the problem, and then build a product that directly solves those problems. A lot more efficient way to do it, right? So that's what is product velocity. And the way that you need to structure your teams here is to be able to do this is different than the traditional way of structuring teams. In the traditional way, you have siloed teams of sales and marketing and business development and tech and QA, all kind of working separately, right? They're all separate departments in bigger companies. But even in startups, you have a salesperson and a marketing person, and they don't really talk. What I'm saying here is you need to be able to structure smaller teams working together and have the entire team responsible for the market and the product side working together on the same product functionality so that the entire team has full visibility into the product lifecycle and be able to focus on what matters and, of course, iterate a lot faster because they're all on the same page. Does that make sense? This is, again, a very important point. is I find that a lot of people are not talking about this. And this may be a completely brand new concept for you. So if you have any questions, or if you want me to pause here and explain this more, I'm happy to do that. Aniba says definitely makes sense. But we'll keep building on this. Okay, so you want to be, I'm just introducing a whole bunch of concepts right now, and then we're going to tie it all together. Great. So what is product? What is the process, right? So now we understand that we have we have the product side of our business, we have the market side of our business. We need to be able to iterate really quickly, and as a team to work together with small non-siloed teams so that we can work together really fast, right? We're increasing our product velocity. All right, so what is the process? The process for reaching product market fit quickly. Before I talk about the process, I'm going to talk about two core pillars that are also a part of my product development process that I'm going to teach you in just a minute. But these pillars are very important for you to be able to execute on the process that I'll teach you in a second. Okay, so pillar number one is learn early, learn often, and learn cheap. And pillar number two is executing ideas the lean way. Learning quickly is pretty obvious, right? The faster you learn something, the faster you will learn if you head it in the right direction. You don't want to spend a ton of time and money going in the wrong direction. And what's the difference between the classic versus the lean way of building products? Well, before we talk about the lean way, let's talk about the classic way, because that's what most people do. In a classic way, you come up with your idea, you get excited about the possibilities, and you start painting the picture in your head about how this new shiny functionality will change everything for the business. If only I had this feature or this functionality or this service, everything would be different, right? This is our thought process. Raise your hand if this is you. I've done this plenty of times. And the more you think about the possibilities, the more incredible and flawless your idea becomes, and the more excited that you get. Well, what do you do? If you're so excited, Quincy is the brave one who admitted it. I do this all the time. This is human nature, and not just you, Quincy, right? This is all of us. What do? We're so excited. We think this is the thing that will change everything. You put all the resources behind building this amazing functionality that will change everything. You spend 2 to 6 months to a year building it in secret because you don't want anyone to steal your brilliant idea. And then you launch. So you've just committed 6 months to a year or even more of money, time, and resources, and then you get feedback. And you may have hit it exactly on the nail, and maybe it was an amazing success that you've imagined in your head. But what most often happens is that you discover that not many people buy, or that it was not a problem worth solving, or you built the wrong solution, or so many ors. This approach is like shooting arrows at a target with blinders on. It is a big bet, and it's very, very high risk. It's slow to market, it has zero customer validation, and it's very expensive. On the other hand, we have lean that uses scientific methodology of hypothesis, test, learn, revise to discover what works with a lot less waste. In the lean process, every single brilliant idea that you have is actually a hypothesis. It is an assumption that has to be proven right or wrong by talking to customers and getting insightful feedback, which allows you to learn whether your hypothesis is valid or if it needs to be revised. And then you create a new hypothesis that needs to be tested again. And everything drops into a lean development cycle. Hypothesis, test, learn, revise, hypothesis, test, learn, revise. And the goal of your team is to minimize the total time through the loop by learning as quickly as possible. This word learning comes up over and over and over again. We discussed the importance of learning quickly. The faster you learn something, the faster you will learn if you're headed in the right direction. So basically, in the lean way of building products, your startup is a series of well-designed experiments that you are constantly testing so you can adjust your path to success. And the key is the smaller your experiments are, the faster you are learning whether or not something's going to work or not. So instead of taking this long approach to figure out whether something is going to work or not. We're taking a lot of small steps to get to success faster. And I hope you can see why these two pillars are necessary to getting to success faster without wasting time and effort going in the wrong direction. And I want you to think about how you can use and leverage these two pillars to get to product market fit faster. How can you minimize your learning time? How can you build less code? How can you launch faster? How can you make your team more efficient at executing? Because all of these things will help you iterate a lot faster. It'll help you learn a lot faster so you can reach product market fit faster. So next, we're going to actually break down the process that I use and teach that will allow you to learn early, learn often, and learn cheap so you can efficiently iterate through the product development process and optimize your team so they execute like a well-oiled machine. Let me see, there's a question in here, I think. What's your opinion on building in public versus stealth mode? Dickens, I think there's a pros and cons to both. You can build in public and basically share as much as you want. And there's a lot of benefits to that because it's free marketing, right? You're building your community as you're building your startup. So that's the benefit of it. Stealth mode allows you to make progress, but stealth mode doesn't mean that you can't do lean. This is a very important thing that I think a lot of people misunderstand. Stealth mode doesn't mean you don't talk to your customers. And stealth mode doesn't mean, or talking to your customers doesn't mean that you're sharing all your secret sauce. So we could talk about the nuances of all of this, right? But I think there's benefits to doing a lot of things in public, and you can decide for marketing purposes, and you can decide how much of building in public and you're going to share, right? The benefit to me is marketing and building community as you're building your startup. But it's very, very important for everyone here to realize that being in stealth mode does not mean you do not do the lean process, okay? As we will learn next. Okay, great question. All right, so let's jump into the TechSpeak process. TechSpeak process is 10 steps. And I highlighted in colors, right, which of the steps are connected to what steps, the market and the product. So the yellow step, this is the validate. The entire validate step will define your market, which is why it's so important. And I'll break down all of the steps in a second. Okay, and then all the purple ones are connected to the product side of this chart that we're talking about. I'm navigating so many windows here, so sort of bear with me. All right, so validate is the first and most important step, in my opinion. This is where you will refine all of your ideas. Validation will help you identify your target customers, validate that the customer problems are really big, and of course, refine your ideas to make sure that they are painkillers. It's not enough to have good ideas for your products and features and functionalities and services. Your ideas must solve painkiller problems and not be a vitamin. Because if people just want what you're building, but don't actually need it, you will always have a much harder time getting customers to use and pay for your products. The number one reason why products and features fail to be adopted is not because they couldn't be built. It's because no one wanted them in the first place. A lot of people make the mistake, if they do validation at all, is to only validate at the beginning when they're coming up with their idea. What I'm saying here is that every single idea for a new feature or functionality of an existing product, no matter how large or small, before you build it, has to go through a validation process, because that will help you really understand if you're solving a painkiller problem, or is this a level 4 or 5 problem? And then, of course, refine it in the validation step and get it to a painkiller problem. And is this functionality going to add to the overall value of your product so you can make it much more delightful for your customers to use and, of course, make them more willing to pay for your product? You would refine your ideas through a process called customer development. And customer development validation is not about putting together a few surveys or doing focus groups. To get really valuable insights, you have to follow a very detailed hypothesis testing process by conducting one-on-one interviews with your potential customers. These interviews are designed to remove the guesswork and assumptions from all of your ideas as much as you can before you build them. Because the more you can remove the guesswork up front, the cheaper all the rest of the steps are going to be. Because if you're in step 8 and 9, when you actually build the solution, to redo something is going to be very expensive. So as we go to from beginning of the steps to the further steps, the more we can remove the guesswork and as quickly as possible, the cheaper it is going to be for us to be able to save money on recoding. Because at some point, you will realize and learn what you need to learn, but the sooner you do it, the cheaper it's going to be for you. And of course, founders always tell me, and this is so frustrating for me, they say, yes, I talk to customers all the time. But if your questioning is not aligned with specific hypotheses that you want to test, or if you're biased and you're leading them to actually ultimately at the end of the day hear what you want to hear, then you are missing out on a lot of real nuances and gems that can actually help you refine your understanding of the problem and therefore help you build the best solutions to address those problems. Proper and focused customer development will prevent you from building technology for technology's sake. Over the years, I have probably witnessed millions of lines of code that were written that were never used by people. Okay. Another benefit to customer development is that it will allow you to understand how to market and sell to your customers, how to acquire customers, your sales and business model, and so much more. Again, I think it's the most important step in the product development process because it will literally help you define the market side in the product market fit scenario that we talked about. Okay. Now going to prototype. So once you understand what it is that you're building and the problem that you're solving, you need to come up with a possible solution that addresses the problem. And instead of jumping into code, which by the way is also a way of prototyping, but it's the most expensive way of doing so. So what I'm saying here is to use clickable prototypes, which are on the other side of the cost spectrum. Not only is refining solutions using clickable prototypes cheaper and faster than writing code, prototyping will also allow you to test multiple solutions before you write code. Remember, it's a lot cheaper and faster to rapidly change prototypes than it is to rewrite code. And again, just guessing what solutions will resonate with your customers will always result in rewriting code and take more time. Some of the tools that you can use are Adobe XD, Figma, Sketch, Marvel App, InVision, so many tools out there. Just start adding it to your process. Steps 3 to 7 is where you need to plan and prepare for development. Most people have an idea, and the next thing they want to do is jump to step number 8, which is writing code, right? Steps number 3 to 7 is where you will prevent the most amount of waste that results in software scope creep. I don't know how many of you have heard of the word scope creep, is where you overbuild and build too much and are late in delivery because you are constantly adding new features and new requirements. So if you do preparation and planning of the MVP really well, this is what we're doing in preparing for development. Most people also, when they define their MVP, minimal viable product, what we're doing is instead of building the whole thing for every one of our ideas, we need to be able to figure out what is our minimal viable thing that we can launch with, right? And most people reduce the number of features, but that's not enough because think about this. This is a question I'm going to pose to you. Have you ever wondered how the same exact project can be estimated to cost $10,000, $50,000, even $150,000, and all estimates could be completely legitimate? Think about that. How is that possible? And it's because the details of what and how you build something matter a lot. You must plan your MVPs based on your time and cost constraints so you can launch quickly and inexpensively, and don't build more than you have to. And in order for this to work, your development teams, whether they're in-house or outsourced, need to be trained in how to build products in this way. Your team needs to understand how to make decisions from the learn early, learn often, learn cheap perspective. And most technical people I'm sorry to say this, are very uncomfortable in doing this. They want to build the perfect solution that scales to millions of users, or use that shiny new technology that they want to learn and get experience in, and not necessarily because it's the best thing for your business at that moment in time. But what you need to do is figure out the minimal viable thing that you can launch with as quickly as possible, and then refine, scale, and iterate from there. And if you're not working with teams who know this process, it's very important for the CEO of the company to learn this process and make it a part of your company culture, and train everyone on your team. And also, of course, hire people with this process in mind, because that's the only way you can actually make it work. I just onboarded a team of 10 people into my program because they used the traditional way of building product. They already had a product and they built something already, right? There's many different ways to write and release code, but they now wanted to shift to this way, this process that I'm teaching you. And they had their CEO, CTO, product and project manager, developers, and QA join and learn all of this at the same time. Remember, I recommended that you restructure your teams earlier, where everyone on the team needs to know the process and know the job that everyone else is doing to be successful, right? This is what we are talking about, and such an important thing for everyone to understand. And another important point is that not everyone is well suited for this type of culture of constant learning, experimenting, and uncertainty. So if you already have a team and find that even after all the training, certain people are just not a fit, you might have to make a very difficult decision to replace them with someone who is. Very, very important to create a company culture with this mindset. Quincy is a brave soul that said that admitted that he's overdeveloping and not the best thing to do. Absolutely. Not alone. You're not alone, Quincy. But the sooner you can realize this is very important as well. If you already have a process, any optimization to your process can literally cost you or save you immediately, start to save you money. So it's never too late to go back and start to optimize your process to do this, okay? All right, so steps number 8 and 9 is all about managing the coding and deployment process of the code, the actual code, to your customers. This is where you will use agile project management to make sure that you can deploy code quickly and efficiently, and have the flexibility to be able to adjust the product roadmap if the need arises. The idea here is to increase the rate at which you're releasing new product features or improved functionality. I get you from releasing every 3 to 6 months to 2 weeks to 1 week to multiple time a day product releases, because launching early and often allows you to learn and iterate a lot faster. And finally, step number 10 is all about setting up behavior analytics. So instead of guessing, you can use data to make product improvement decisions. This is where you will need to implement all kinds of different analytics and start to collect user behavior data that will help you learn how your users use your product, what features and functionalities they use the most, what delights them and what makes them frustrated, what brings them back to using your application over and over again, and why they might not be coming back as often as you'd like. All of these data points will help you, again, make decisions. Which one of your existing features need to be improved and how? What new features and functionalities would make the product stickier, so more and more of your existing customers use your product on a regular basis and also recommend and refer new users to you. Data-driven decision-making to improving your product is absolutely transformational, because instead of guessing what exact features to focus on to get more users to use your product, you will actually have data that will inform you on what next functionality that you should be testing and implementing, which of course prevents you from spending a lot of resources and time building the wrong things. So here in the validate step, we're validating the idea's riskiest assumptions with a small set of customers through one-on-one conversations, right? We talked about customer development. Here in step 10, we're now scaling our learning with a bigger subset of our customers. And from the data that you collect, you will actually get ideas on how to improve your product. These ideas are what? Who can tell me? If you've been paying attention and you can guess, You're going to give you a high five. What are these ideas? Most people look at them, they say, oh my gosh, this is a gem. This is what I can do, right? And they pull it out and they put it and they say, let's code this as quickly as possible and put it into step 8 and 9. But who can tell me what are these ideas? And is that correct? Is that what we should be doing? Is taking those new ideas that we're learning from the data and immediately starting to code them. What do you guys think? Anyone want to take a guess? It starts with an H. Anyone? I know there's a delay also, so I don't know how long to wait. So, okay, I'm going to give it to you guys. So it is hypothesis, right? Those ideas that you get from your data are hypotheses. These are assumptions. They're not things that we immediately assume are true. So we are putting them back into validate steps so we can understand the nuances around the problem that we think we have identified, right? To make sure that it is a painkiller idea and not just a level 4 or 5 problem. And we also need to understand how is this going to affect different types of customers and all of these nuances that you can learn from the validate step. And this is how you go through continuously all the steps over and over and over and over again until you reach product market fit and hopefully beyond if you wanted to continue to stay innovative. Now, remember, we're running a lot of small experiments to get to success faster. Who can tell me what can we use to test whether our hypotheses are true or false, right? The beauty of scientific experiments is that we will know a hypothesis always has to have a statement on whether or not it will succeed or fail. It's a falsifiable hypothesis, right? These are good hypotheses. Now, when we're setting up experiments in our startups, metrics are the things that are going to help us determine whether our hypotheses are true or false. And metrics are very, very important because they will help us define what success will look like for us in our startup. What is success for me is very different, or for my startup is very different, or maybe very different to what your success is, right? And so it's very important for you when you start to create your hypotheses to understand what is going to be the success metrics. And the reason why metrics are so important is because they are our check-in points. They're a point that we can set, right? We need to define what success is and for how long we are going to wait to see whether or not this is success or failure. And if we're not hitting our metrics, those are our signs that you need to check in, that you need to change something, that you need to refine, or you need to revisit and understand why you're not hitting those metrics. And something either on the product or the market side or both needs to be refined. Do you see how this all ties in together? The metrics will allow us, the experiments are what we're running all the time. The metrics will allow us when we need to pivot or change directions, right? And the constant lean development method is going to allow us to keep iterating really, really, really fast. All of these steps will allow you, before we go into the next thing, baseline metrics. You guys can take a screenshot, or this is also in your workbooks as well, right? But some baseline metrics that a lot of startups use, and you can use research to find out what are the baseline metrics for your industry, right? But baseline metrics will allow you to kind of know, all right, so am I on the way to product market fit? These are some of the things that you can use as kind of a number, right? So that you can understand, okay, what are my goals? What should have been my goals? So you need to define success based on some kind of proven methodologies that or success baseline metrics that already exist out there, okay? And of course, in the Q&A, if you guys want me to dive into any of these, I can do that as well. So All of these steps will allow you to learn early, learn often, learn cheap. We're optimizing our team and process so you're not spending too much time and money going in the wrong direction, because the more tighter your team and process are, the better you're executing. And of course, it shortens your learning time through the hypothesis, test, learn, revise loop that I mentioned at the beginning. And by learning early and often, you will increase your chances of hitting success and reach product market fit a lot faster. And for those of you who are already building, understand how costly development is. And I have, for those of you who are interested in understanding how I came up with these numbers, there is a free workshop that is on my website called How to Cut Your Product Development Costs by Up to 50%. And I am literally breaking down these conservative assumptions that I made to come up at this number. It's $124,000 for each new release if you have one developer, and the costs go astronomical as you increase your team size. So the importance of focusing on understanding and tightening up your team and your process, you can see how much not only time, but money you're saving. And you're not going to be, right, you're preventing yourself from constantly being in fundraising mode to be able to find money to fund your development. And instead, you can be much more smart about what you're building, how you're building, and how much money you're spending on your builds. Okay, so let's do a quick recap of what we've learned so far, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. So get your questions ready, and we will get there in a few minutes. Okay, so what did you learn first is that, sorry, I got a little something in my throat. Reaching product market fit quickly is really an important milestone, because now you're ready to scale, you can make more money, you want to get there as quickly as possible. To use the lean way of building products to learn faster and iterate to success. To validate and prototype all of your ideas so you don't build more than you have to. To optimize your MVPs to reduce the cost and time of development so you can launch faster. Implement an efficient agile framework so you can release more code often than every 2 weeks. Right? So we want to be able to do it even multiple times a day. And of course, to use data-driven decision-making to improving your products. And I'd love to know from all of these ideas, what has been the most valuable for you so far? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all, or what combination of the 6? These are going to be your action points, okay? Things that you need to do post this webinar. I'm very, very action-oriented. I don't want you to just attend this webinar and do nothing. I want you to understand and note in your brain that, and share, if you want to do that publicly, what is the biggest takeaway and what you're going to try to do post this webinar on getting yourself to product market fit, or at least setting yourself up more for success to get there a lot faster. Okay, so some additional resources for any of you who are interested. You can go to techspeak.co/free classes. There's a bunch of free webinars that are on demand, so you don't even have to wait for live training. You can just pick a date and time and just start attending them and consume the content. And for those of you who are interested in diving deeper, I also have a paid training that is has all of these 10 modules available, and there's an exclusive offer in your download for if you want a discount as well. This is where you can download the workbook if you haven't, if you walked in late and you don't know the link. But in the workbook, you will have all of the kind of summary of everything that I've talked about. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Let's do some Q&A. If you have a question, how many people do we have? We have a pretty small group, so if you guys want to just unmute and ask your question, that would be fine as well. And I can dive deeper into any of the things that you think I didn't cover, or anything else that is an issue for you in your startup right now? Either raise your hand, type your answer or your question into the chat, or unmute yourself and feel free to ask as well. How many of you actually are already in the build process, or you have a product? I'm curious. Elisa is saying that her 5-year-old is here. Does this process apply to develop digital product as well? Absolutely, Elisa. Product market fit is not a theory that applies only to tech startups, right? You can use this methodology to build hardware products, digital products, courses. I built TechSpeak, the program that I was just sharing with you, using lean methodologies. I literally created the curriculum, and instead of putting it online, like most people do, I taught it in person, and that was my minimal viable product, right? I didn't have everything ready, but I know the information, and I knew that the best way for me to iterate on the product was to be in front of a classroom and seeing what resonated with people, what didn't resonate. And I literally, after every single one of my webinar sessions, which was a 2-day boot camp, that's how I structured it, I refined my process. I understood the questions that were being asked. So I redid the slides. And that's how for 2 or 3 years is how I learned what needed to be in the, ultimately at the end of the day, I put it up online, but it was the most complete version, right? Because I taught it for so many years. I use this process in my personal life to make decisions as well. It's about taking big things, and instead of having paralysis by analysis and trying to understand what is the right best decision that I can make, it's how can I break this into the smallest possible steps so that I can take action on them, because every single action, no matter how small, in fact, the smaller the action is, the smaller the experiment that I will run, will give me some data points that will help inform my next decision and the next decision and the next decision. And in a cumulative effect, I'm actually going to be a lot faster from point A to point B, taking a lot of small decisions than trying to wait to make the perfect decision, because there is no such thing as perfect decision. The market changes all the time. Everything about the startup, right, is all volatile. You may lose a team member. You can do all kinds of stuff. Like, there's so much that changes. For you to be able to make decisions with what you have right now, it's better to make a fast decision and learn, right? Which is why we're saying the key to this process is to take small experiments, because small experiments, even if they fail, they don't have big damaging effects that a lot of people have, and the risks associated that people have with taking a risk with something. A small failure is just a data point that at the end of the day is not going to make or break you, right? And that's it's a really important way. It's almost like it's a way of being. Learn early, learn often, learn cheap. It's like my mantra. This is how I run my business, how I run my life, and how I run my startup. It's not just in a product sense, but my marketing, my sales process, right? It's all about that. We're not going to commit millions of dollars to something until we've proven. We take a few small experiments to see what works, what doesn't work, how can we refine it. After every sales conversation, if I'm doing sales, right, I need to be able to refine my pitch. It's the same type of idea. Learn early, learn often, and learn cheap. Great. Quincy is saying, have you had a business that had a great product that was in the wrong market and then eventually found the correct market and succeeded as a business? Oh, lots of people, right? You start to think that you need to be in a specific market. Direct to consumer is one example. It's very easy to go direct to consumer, and then you try to sell it to them, and they don't want to pay, or they don't have enough time, or whatever else. And then you pivot to businesses and make your product targeted to businesses. It's a lot easier to charge them money. It's a lot easier to sell to them and create a sales process. There's so many different ways to pivot, and pivoting to a target segment or to the right target segment is so much easier then and it's almost every startup that doesn't know initially who they need to be, who's their ideal customer, right? Because you don't want to sell to everybody. I'm in a startup right now, in a well-being startup, and we're selling to enterprises. And instead of saying we're going to sell to everybody, we just picked one industry who are doing one specific thing, because we already have one client that proved to us that they were interested, and we already know how to sell to them, right? Every other client, even though they may need us, this sales process may be different, right? So you can start to in the beginning, when you have so few resources and you're a small startup with a small team, just by focusing in on one segment and really getting granular about the specifics of the type of customer, right? Even how much money they make, what, how many employees they have, what industry they're in, they could have a completely different need and a product that you may need to build for them, right? And so focusing in on some early adopters is very beneficial for a lot of startups. Yeah, if there are questions, just keep typing them in, and I'm looking. Elisa says, I love it. I'm glad, Elisa. Sabine, very informative. Quincy says, like, if they were targeting the wrong age range at first. Yep, Quincy, hopefully I answered your question. It's not just age range, right? It could be different types of backgrounds. People in New York City, for example, or kids or adults in New York City are very different than people in Middle America, right? And so, like, you have to understand these nuances and find your early adopters based on a lot of different what seem like small things, right? But they, at the end of the day, are important things for your startup, because you want to be able to find your early adopters. Great, Elisa. Nice to meet you. Any other questions? We're right on time.
Yeah, perfect timing, Nelly. Well, then we want to thank you, Nelly, for this informative workshop about how to reach product market fit quickly. We learned so much. And thank you all for joining us today. If you don't follow Digital Undivided on our social media, or if you have not signed up to our newsletter yet, please do so you can be up to date about our upcoming community sessions and programs and events. Yeah, that's it. And if you have any additional questions, I'm sure, Nelly, you already shared your
Yeah,
contact.
feel free to reach out to me on social media or my email, and I'm everywhere, so you can easily find me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, have a good night.
Thank you. You too. Have a great night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.